pitfalls to avoid. These first few questions here are again based on Romans 1:16. These are crummy questions. And I want you to tell me why they're crummy. The first one there. Was Paul ashamed of the gospel? Now, what's wrong with that?
Question. Nope.
Okay. No further discussion. So it's a dead end. So don't ask a question that has a yes-no response. Now, you could save it by saying, why do you say that? But now, somebody rephrase that question for me better. The idea of that question, rephrase it for me.
Why would Paul have the temptation to be ashamed?
Okay. Why would Paul even be tempted to be ashamed of the gospel? Or why was Paul not ashamed of the gospel? So anything like that. You'll see, okay, here's number 2 crummy question. What are these 6 great truths that are evident in Romans 1:16? What's wrong with that? Woo, you can read my mind. He said there's only 4.
I don't know the 6 great truths. Am I saved?
You're probably not saved. That's right. Oh, all right. So we don't want to conduct a mind reading contest. Rephrase that question for me. And Jason's going to rephrase it. What are the 4 great truths? Now go ahead, Jeff.
What are some of the truths evident in Romans?
What are some of the? You've been looking on my paper. What are some of the truths? Yeah, that's right. All right. The third crummy question here. Who got salvation first? Who is salvation for? And what is salvation from? What's wrong with it?
It's more than one question in one question.
Yeah.
Okay. It's too complex.
And way too complex.
And way too what?
Way too broad.
Way too broad. So if you've got and or but in a question, probably you're making a mistake. So this is where KISS comes in. Keep it simple somehow. All right. Let's keep your questions clear. Now, 4th example. What aspects of the atonement are evident in Romans 1:16 that are consistent with the Reformers' concept of soteriology?
Soteriology, what did you... question on your theology for a one-page.
That would be.
You lost.
They all look good to me.
I lost the group, except for him down there. All right. So you got to bust those 25-cent words up into 5-cent words. And I was told by a good teacher, if you can keep your vocabulary to Anglo-Saxon roots, you'll always be understood. It's when you use a Latin root that people are going to misunderstand. They don't know. So try to speak Anglo-Saxon and you'll probably do a lot better.
So do away with atonement, reformer, soteriology.
Well, you're getting there. Now, atonement is Anglo-Saxon. However, the rest of them are pretty bad.
Is that kind of the USA Today method? You know, you write it for write your questions
well,
for
do
a
that.
6th grader.
Okay, do that.
A 6th grade level.
No, I think that's smart.
Dumb it down. That's what
Well,
it's trying to do.
That's the thing.
No.
We've got like data scientists, and that's all they do is data all the time. But they can't explain it to anybody. So what good is it? Very smart, but they don't know how to communicate.
Right.
There is a skill and an art and an intelligence to simplifying complex things.
Yeah.
So what we have is profound concepts that we are not dumbing down. We are clothing them in language that everybody understands and not trying to use a bunch of big egghead words, Chris. All right, next question. According to Romans 1:16, salvation is for everyone who believes. What is the relationship between salvation and speaking in tongues? You like that one? What is the relationship between salvation and speaking in tongues? What's wrong with that question?
No relation.
It's completely out of context.
That's right.
You opened a whole can of worms.
People are going to stop coming to your class if you. That's the way you do every week.
That's what
Well, if
happened.
you don't speak in tongues, you're not saved.
Well, that's that. I mean, I didn't want to just come right out and say that. All right. Next, what will likely happen if the teacher gets bogged down in minute details of the text, majoring on the minors?
You never get through the text, don't get to the point.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't ever get to the point. What effect is that going to have on the group?
Leave them frustrated.
Yeah.
Great intro to a sermon, great intro to a Bible discussion, but there's nothing in it for me.
You've probably all heard of these preachers. They're going to preach through Romans, and it takes him 13 years. Every verse is a sermon. Deal with the passage and try to get at least through a paragraph. Sometimes one verse, all right, but try to get at least through a paragraph. Cover at least some cohesive unit of thought that the Holy Spirit inspired that author to write. Yes.
Now I know why you have teachers that take 6 months to get through 6 chapters of a book.
Now you know. Well, they haven't had this course till now. Now, why should the teacher show enthusiasm and avoid being a dullard?
To keep the audience awake.
There's nothing spiritual about being boring. Look, if you're not excited, they won't be either. And if you go to sleep, they're going to go to sleep. So if the class is lethargic, probably your fault. And remember this, too, guys. Very few people can pull off an interesting monologue. But many more people can pull off an interesting Bible discussion. So there's hope for more of us that way.